Hello everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video. Now, throughout the years, a ton of things have been added to Old School Runescape. We got new content updates, new quests, new items, new metas, but there's actually been a fair amount of things that have actually been removed. Usually these are small things, but some major things have been removed from the game as well, and often they were not publicized or mentioned at all. So today I'm going to be going over some of the more impactful things that were actually removed from Old School RuneScape. And I'm not going to be talking about event items because there are just hundreds of those that have been added and removed for different varying events. So I'm going to be focusing mainly on legitimate pieces of content that have been in the game for years, but then all of a sudden they got removed. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, I would really appreciate it if you took the time to leave the video a like, always helps out. Anyway, let's get started. Now, first up here, we have an NPC by the name of Charlie Brown. Now, you can already maybe see the issue with this NPC already, but Charlie Brown was an NPC located on Hosidius, and they could be found in a small church if you went up the ladder. Now, obviously, Charlie Brown is a pretty iconic name from the Peanuts comic strip, so, I mean, it's a little bit of a stretch to have that in Old School RuneScape already, but if you actually went ahead and talked to him, he was actually way more memey, that's a word, than just his name. He would tell you that he journeyed to Great Koran in search of some luck and fortune, and he always wears his monk robes to keep him holy when praying to Arengesus, spelled Arengeesus, which I do understand Old School RuneScape doesn't take itself seriously. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I mean that may have been pushing it a bit too far. Now this character was in the game from January 7th, 2016 all the way until May 23rd of 2019 during the Hosidius House rework. He was just binned. ModWest said on Twitter that he was initially moved out of the way because of the cringe memes, but we felt it best that he just goes away completely. So I think to summarize here, Charlie Brown really just broke too many rules, broke the fourth wall, and flew a little too close to the sun, and he got burned. Now next up here we have another NPC by the name of Big Mo. Now Big Mo I guess kind of could be considered an event, but it was really impactful and wasn't really added for a specific holiday or anything like that. Big Mo was a traveling businessman from Zaya and was originally added back in April 30th of 2015. Now Big Mo is actually located in a random location every day, and what he would offer you if you found him would actually be a clue scroll. The tier of the clue scroll would be random for every day, and at the end of the day he would just move on to a new location. Now the only way to really find him was either to just look on Reddit and see if anyone else found him, or you could look at the official RuneScape Twitter feed. Now as this was an event, he was actually only in the game for around 30 days. It would have been a bit overpowered to keep him there permanently, and in just those 30 days, 104,000 players claimed a clue scroll from Big Mo. Now next up here we have somewhat of a controversial item that was removed, and that was the duck Aaron. Aaron was only in the game for 1 week before getting removed. It was simply a yellow duck that could be found in the Faerell Park. Totally a cosmetic duck, didn't do anything, just had a few taglines. Now the reason it was seen as controversial at the time was, for one, it wasn't polled. Now I think that would roll over a little bit differently, but back then, I mean, not polling something was a pretty big deal, and it was kind of seen as favoritism as the duck was named after a streamer, Saber6. It's kind of funny looking back at things like that and trying to explain it to people. How did such a small yellow duck cause such a ruckus when it literally didn't do anything? Okay, next up here we have a more recent one, and that is bounty crates. Now these were added with one of the iterations of the bounty hunter minigame, and like the entire update, it was eventually removed. But the bounty crate was one of the chief issues with it, and probably the primary reason it was removed. Now bounty crates were somewhat of a loot crate that you could buy with bounty hunter points that you earned by participating in the bounty hunter minigame. The crate at the time was worth around 150k to 200k each, so they were pretty valuable. Now the main issue with this was that it was possible to earn bounty hunter points rather quickly, and you could farm them really easily without actually playing the minigame correctly, which means a player with multiple accounts they own themselves could farm bounty hunter points off each other and then purchase these crates that would generate a ton of wealth and a ton of different items for that player, and generally the bounty crate was seen as a very unhealthy update for the game. Now it was originally released October 31st of 2019 and only lasted in the game for about 4 months and was eventually removed April 23rd of 2020. Now the bounty crate kind of is one of the few items that was removed from RuneScape just for being way too overpowered. Even if they reduced this the overall value of the crate, the main issue was that the minigame itself was easily farmed and the bounty crates were too easily obtainable, so they just went ahead and removed it. Now next up here we have probably one of the biggest pieces of content removed from Old School RuneScape, and that is the trading post system. Now the trading post was kind of an interim measure for trading in Old School RuneScape, somewhere between the Grand Exchange and free trade, and only existed in the game for a very short period of time. It was added on December 10th of 2014 and only existed until February 25th when they released the Grand Exchange, so it was only in the game for about 3 months. Now the trading post worked on somewhat of an auction system. It didn't actually find and complete offers for you, but it made it really easy to list your items, find other items that people offered, track down where they were, and other information. It was a pretty interesting system, but very quickly the Grand Exchange took its place, and we haven't really looked back since. Okay, next up here we have another NPC that was removed, and this one actually marks one of the very first changes to Tutorial Island. Now on Tutorial Island, ever since I think it was released, the financial advisor was found in the bank. You actually were required to talk to him to get through the tutorial, and he would tell you about all different ways to make money. He mentioned combat by picking up monster drops, completing quests to receive their rewards, and trading with other players. Now just based on those dialogue options, we can see that they're kind of outdated. So on October 18th of 2018, this NPC was actually removed and replaced with the account guide, who shared more relevant information to 2018 at the time. With that said though, they both look the exact same, so I guess he kind of lives on visually. Now another really big piece of content that was removed from Oldschool Runescape are random events. Now, random events were initially in the game as an anti-botting measure, but for quite a while now they haven't really been very effective to actually reduce the effectiveness of bots. Now in RS3, random events aren't really used at all, but when Oldschool Runescape came out, they were still a part of the game. That was until, of course, 2014, when there was an update that removed quite a few of them from the game and then simply neutered the rest of them. Now, most of the dangerous ones were completely discontinued. For example, the tree ant that would break your axe, an exploding rock that would break your pickaxe, the whirlpool that would appear when you're fishing, there were different guardians that would attack you that could actually kill you, along with some of the more annoying ones. For example, the strange box would require you to answer a question. Even if you failed it, it would duplicate in your inventory. That one was annoying. So all of those random events were fully removed, and the ones that were in the game were now optional. You could just dismiss them if you didn't actually want to do them, but they were kept in the game for nostalgic purposes and for still giving rewards to low-level players. Now all of that was removed in 2014. However, additionally in 2018, there was another random event removed solely for mobile, and that was the Beekeeping random event. It was deemed way too annoying to try to do on your phone, so they just purely removed it. You can't get the Beekeeper event if you're playing on mobile, however you still can get it on desktop. Okay, next up here we have another fairly impactful NPC that was removed, and that is the Zamorak Mage. They weren't removed from every location, however they were removed during an update during 2019. Now during the summer of 2019, the Song of the Elves quest was released, and after the quest released, a few players noticed something interesting. The Zamorak Mages were actually missing from the Underground Pass. Now this was notable for a few different reasons. Now for one, it was a pretty good mid-level moneymaker. You could run in there, kill the Zamorak Mages, gather the robes, and teleport out. But after the update, they were just gone. Now what's really interesting is the Zamorak Mages weren't actually removed entirely from that location. They were only removed if you have completed the Song of the Elves quest, which makes it one of the few things that actually gets removed by completing a certain piece of content. Now I believe they made this decision just to add continuity to the quest, make it make more sense, but yeah, it's a pretty rare occurrence of something being removed in that fashion. Now next up here we have a food item called the Karambwani. Now this item has existed for a long time, since 2004 back in RS2. And it's one of the few items that you could actually cook at level 1 cooking. Now the reason this item was removed is back in August of 2017, the raw Karambwani was made stackable. This was to make the method of obtaining it less tedious and a bit more user-friendly. Now you can see the issue here. If they left the cooked Karambwani in the game as is, it would now become a stackable food item that you can actually eat, which would be directly competing with the purple sweets, which would be extremely overpowered. I mean, right now we do have purple sweets, but they are somewhat bottlenecked by the fact that you can only get them from clue scrolls. They are very expensive, and they only heal 1 HP. If the Karambwani was left in the game, it would heal 3 times that amount, probably be dirt cheap compared to it, and really would just break certain pieces of content. Having a seemingly unlimited food source would be so useful for the Inferno, fire capes, raids. I mean, the list goes on, so that's why it was removed. Now finally here we have a really interesting feature that has been removed, and it doesn't look like we're ever getting it back. That is the Well of Goodwill. Now this feature was originally added in 2014 and returned in 2015 and 2016. Now essentially what you could do is you could donate gold to it, and for every 1,000,000 coins that was donated, Jagex would donate $1 to charity. But on top of donating the money to charity, there were certain milestones set up as well, and if the community hit that milestone, certain features would be added into the game. For example, a Supreme Leader haircut, had the bowl haircut, an Ash emote, or even a cosmetic item of the community's choice. Personally, I think this is a really awesome idea. For one, donating to charity is an awesome thing to do. Two, it's a gold sink. If they had something similar to this, even if it wasn't for charity, I think it would be a good idea. Now, as the last edition of the Well of Goodwill was back in 2016, almost 4 years ago, I don't know if we're going to be getting it again, but I hope we do. Anyway guys, that is going to be it for today's video. Those are 10 things that were removed from Old School RuneScape. I have quite a few more things on this list. I narrowed it down to these 10, but I have 30 on the list. So if you'd be interested in seeing another video with some more kind of obscure things that were removed from Old School RuneScape, let me know with a comment down below. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time.